'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. Max 40 had uploaded an end-of-year top 10. Oh Jesus, not most complimented again. I decided to turn over to Jeremy Fragrance. He was plugging his selections for different occasions. Carlos and Stephen reviewed the new one from Boss. I can't say I watched it because I don't give a toss. Peter from Fragrance View was not too impressed. He reviewed another fragrance that he chose to detest. David from Fragrance Bros just couldn't resist. I don't think Jeremy's on his Christmas card list. As usual, Mr. Smelly is in a different class. He told me to say that or he'd kick me up the arse. Merry Christmas to Fragcom. Enjoy your cologne. Spare a thought for Captain Sensible at home on his own.
Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to be having a look at my top 5 inexpensive fragrances that I discovered this year, 2018. No particular order in this list, and I'm going to throw in an honourable mention. So I'm cheating, it's 6 really, but there you go. Top 5 sounds better and gets more views, I think, on YouTube.
Get on with it, you idiot.
So the first one I'm going to mention, really like this one a lot, and this is Al Haramain's LaVenture Night. I should mention that the company did send me LaVenture Night free for review. That did not influence my opinion. I honestly think this is a great one for the price. They're very famous for LaVenture, the original, which is their take on Creed's Aventus. Excellent affordable copy of Creed Aventus. My favourite affordable copy of that fragrance, my favourite inexpensive one. Maybe one of the Parfums vintage, pineapple vintages might be my favourite copy of all. But that costs a lot more money. So this is their take, LaVenture Night, on Creed's Green Irish Tweed. A famous fragrance, first released in 1985. A very green, grassy, gentlemanly, crisp, clean, woody fragrance. Opens up with a green burst of lemon verbena and other kind of green grassy accords. Underneath that there's some violet leaf and sandalwood. Most people say they pick up on some lavender in this one too, and importantly a dihydromercenol accord or ingredient, which is a really prevalent note, or certainly was in the 80s and 90s in male perfumery. A kind of crisp, clean, woody thing that once you sort of get what it is, you'll notice it in a lot of fragrances, including this one and things like Platinum Egoist from Chanel. And I like that accord. I like dihydromercenol, it seems. LaVenture Night, really, really good copy. Only just in the beginning you can pick up on something slightly more brilliant and maybe natural smelling in the Green Irish Tweed, but there's not much in it. And considering the gulf in price, this is excellent. It performs really well. And after half an hour or so on your clothes, in the air, people around you will be very hard pressed to tell any difference with Green Irish Tweed. So superb. The value for money is good if you ask me, but it only just creeps in as being categorizable as inexpensive because it's sort of in the £40 to £46 range here in the UK for your 100ml. Nice presentation, bottle very similar to the original LaVenture, and you get a rather nice box with it too. So I really do recommend that one highly. If you want to spend quite a bit more, just edging it as slightly closer still to Green Irish Tweed is Emerald Isle by Parfums Vintage, but that I wouldn't class that as inexpensive because it's about twice as much or maybe even more than that than this one. So this, if you're looking for an affordable copy, I now think this supplants things like Estriara Stag Black, which are really cheap but have something a bit lacking. This one very, very close to Green Irish Tweed. The Stag Black still not bad at all. Okay, moving on then. The next one, LALIQUE Pour Homme Eau de Parfum. What a beautiful masculine gentlemanly fragrance this is. You can pick this one up 100 mils around about £31.75. When I checked today, that was on Notino in the UK. The notes in this one, you've got bergamot, lavender, pomelo, rosemary, tangerine, amber, patchouli, sandalwood, vanilla, cedar iris, jasmine and lily of the valley. What you get is a beautiful, sophisticated, kind of natural smelling bergamot, crisp green opening again. And underneath that there is a little bit of sweetness. I think there's vanilla in this one that you can detect. Many people compare it to Creed's Bois de Portugal, one of my favourites, and it is very similar, but I don't think it's a clone, so don't worry, I'm not just doing clones for the whole video here. It was composed by the brilliant perfumer Maurice Roussel, who also did Musc Ravageur, by, oh god, what is it, for Frederick Malle, and he also did one of my cheapy favourites, Bogart Pour Homme, but I discovered that a few years ago. So this year I was really excited to pick this one up and add it to my collection. It's a late 90s release. Really nice performance, a lovely combination of fresh greenness, a little bit of a classic feel, some sweetness, and a sort of spicy, dusty, woody bookshelf type of accord that you also do get with Creed's Bois de Portugal. Maybe a little bit reminiscent of things like Chanel Pomme Choix. Much less expensive than that one, and certainly much less expensive than Bois de Portugal. Really nice performance. I got a compliment on this once in a shop, and I don't get tons of compliments all the time. Performs well, therefore, I think. Beautiful, gentlemanly, signature scent worthy all year round. You can wear this certainly fine for the office, but go easy on the sprays because it is a good performer, and for night time also giving you a refined, slightly retro kind of air, so just bear that in mind. Next up then, it's from the house of Salvador Dali, and it is called Le Roi Soleil Extrême. So there was an original Le Roi Soleil a few years back that was discontinued. It was released in the 90s. I think this was a 2012 release. Lovely bottle design, featuring some artwork from the great man Salvador Dali there. And the smell on this one, again, it's a very crisp, clean, fresh kind of masculine scent. Got some on a card here. Soapy. It's quite a soapy scent. Fresh, slightly synthetic smelling citrus accords that remind me slightly perhaps of things like Creed's Erolfa, which is a good thing. So maybe an air of the aquatic or ozonic kind of note in there. Definitely some soapiness, and maybe just a twist of something that reminds me a bit of things like Drakkar Noir from the early 80s. So a little bit of a retro, old school masculine vibe. It's got pineapple listed in the notes, as well as bergamot, lemon, apple, cardamom, lavender, amber, musk, and vetiver. Very pleasant, fresh, clean. I don't want all these scents to be coming across too retro, and the rest of them won't be, but there is a slightly looking back to the 80s, 70s, 90s kind of vibe about this one, but really slightly different to anything else that I've got in my collection. A nice ozonic, soapy mixture with some herbaceous elements. I think that's the key thing. It's herbaceous, soapy and citrusy, and utterly classy, and available. 50ml that I got here was only $18.99, and there's 100ml for a little bit more, even better value for the 100ml. Superb stuff. Le Roi Soleil Extrême, from the wonderful house of the deceased mad surrealist painter Salvador Dali. So next up, I'm putting this at number 2. The list is not ordered really in any kind of order of preference, and this one has been mentioned once before on my channel. It's Ezra from VERSACE. About time we had something a bit more exotic and not all these soapy, fresh, masculine, European style scents. This one, as the bottle perhaps hints, great bottle design, is a Middle Eastern type of fragrance. So the house of VERSACE do a few clones, but they've got a quite rich and illustrious history, as with Al Haramain, going back a little way, and they do a lot of these Middle Eastern style perfumes for great prices. This one you can pick it up, a 65ml bottle, for just over £20. Some of the notes, or in fact all of them, we've got bergamot, saffron, ylang ylang, cedar, gudgeon balsam, I don't know what that is, iris root, ambrette, sandalwood, and that's the official note listing. I pick up on, in this one, and so do many other reviewers, things like honey. Definitely a lot of floral elements. It's leaning maybe unisex, perhaps a little bit more towards feminine for some people. It's also leathery, and I think there's some rose and a hint of oud in there as well. So you've got a much more oriental style or exotic Middle Eastern flavour with this one. I've got some on a strip here. It's not going to be to everyone's liking. It reminds me in some ways maybe just slightly of 24 Gold by Scent Story, but much less sweet and much more emphasis on the dry, woody elements of that one. There is a sweetness in here, really nice floral blossoming kind of notes in there, and it was recommended actually by Miguel Matos, the esteemed critic on Fragrantica, and also Nikhil from Nikhil's Frags, who I think has changed the name of his channel, but he's a really good expert on the Middle Eastern style fragrances, and even though this one is so cheap, he rates this really highly, and I have to say I'm quite taken with it. So if you're looking for something, maybe a little introduction into the world of Middle Eastern perfumery without spending much money, great bottle, beast mode performance, lovely exotic, floral, woody, slightly oudy and sweet, sensuous smell. Ezra from VERSACE is a great option. So that was number 2. Let's find out what's officially at number 1, but they're all pretty much equal in my esteem. So this is going to be from, the cat's just joined me, the house of Alvarez Gomez. And this one is from the new, or I think it was a 2017 thing that they brought out, 4 fragrances, I think, in the line of Flores Mediterraneas. This one is entitled in Spanish, Bosque de Primavera. Yes, and I think that translates in English to Spring Forest, because it says Spring Forest underneath. So Spring Forest from Alvarez Gomez, classic cologne house really from the from Spain, and one of my favourites from them is Alvarez Gomez Agua de Colonia Concentrada, a lovely natural smelling lemon and lavender kind of scent. This one very similar in the style, lovely bottle design. This was an 80ml and it was just under £20. Beautiful, fresh citrus fragrance. It's an eau de toilette. It feels like an eau de cologne type of smell. Really, really juicy, sweet, natural smelling citrus. I'll just spray some on my hand. I was already wearing it, but we'll add a bit more. Very, very crisp, natural smelling, super realistic mixture of citrus notes. Some of the notes listed include orange blossom, tangerine and lemon. The company also talk about being a little bit woody and citrusy and floral. So it actually reminds me a little bit, and this is a big compliment, of Xerjoff's 1861 Renaissance. So a little bit of sweetness in there, certainly very citrusy, fresh, slightly fruity, and just really, really great for spring and summer. I'll be reaching for even more then, but I've made a dent in it in less than a week. Like that, I'm spraying it all over my clothes. It's kind of a 20 spray job, and if you do that, it does perform actually quite well. If you just do 3 or 4, I haven't tried that. Maybe it's not that strong. It doesn't smell like it would be a big performer, but when I've applied heavily, it's been great. Beautiful, crisp, fruity, a little bit sweet, natural smelling, fresh, citrusy smell for a very, very low price. And you love you gotta love the design of the label and the box. Very classy for a low price. Make a great gift, wouldn't it, for someone if you don't want to spend that much money, but it still doesn't look cheap and it doesn't smell cheap either. Very, very nice, inexpensive fragrance. So that was my official list completed, and I just decided, because this one's so old, it's been out 22 years, I thought perhaps it doesn't deserve an official place in the list, but I did pick it up recently and I'm really glad to have it in the collection. And this is the Dreamer from the house of Versace, of course. 1996 release, this one. So I'll just tell you the notes: juniper, lily, iris, tobacco, amber, tarragon, rose, tonka, lavender, mandarin. It's a sweet tobacco, lavender, kind of fresh, clean sheets mixed with sweetness and some kind of synthetic tobacco accord. Reminds me in that respect actually of Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme, which was released in 1994, that they share perhaps this kind of synthetic tobacco accord that's very, very pleasant. A lovely, lovely, sweet, powdery, kind of, it reminds me of the colour of lilac. If you have to think of a colour with a fragrance, I often do. This one sort of comes out a kind of lilac-y colour, pink even, no, more lilac. And there's the box. So it is a kind of dreamy, soft, powdery, slightly sweet smell. Perhaps it was, it came out a couple of years after Jean Paul Gaultier Le Mal. The next year we had Dolce & Gabbana by Man. It's got this kind of powdery, masculine, hinting at barbershop, but with something quite interesting and unique. So really, really great prices. You can pick up 100ml for around about £20 in the UK. An oldie but a goodie, a classic bottle design, and something a bit different, great for autumn and winter wear, kind of comforting scent with some sweetness, a little bit of sophistication. Doesn't smell really niche, or it smells a little bit synthetic, but it's one of those good synthetic smells. Some people say it smells a bit like dryer sheets. I think it was the Fragrance Apprentice did a good review years ago where he said it had a nostalgic dryer sheet accord, and I don't know exactly what that means, but it somehow kind of made sense. So the Dreamer, really happy to add that to my collection just recently. And those were my top 5 inexpensive fragrances discovered this year, 2018. Let me know what you thought of my picks. Have you tried any of them? And what were your favourite inexpensive pickups to add to your fragrance collection this year? Please let me know. As ever, thank you very much for joining me. Whatever you're doing in life, let's project. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. They made it.
nice or smelly.